What makes this polyether custom implant so much more expensive than this silicone off-the-shelf device? Let's talk about some of the pros and cons of PEEK versus silicone implants. Silicone implant is kind of the OG, the original gangster. It's been around for a very long time, and it pretty much has the market share for all facial implants, as well as breast implants, as you may have heard, and pec implants for that matter. But silicone is a very easily accessible, prefabricated device. You can also get custom silicone implants, but most of the time, you call a company, you order a small, medium, or large, and you get your implant in the mail the next day. So this silicone implant looks just like this polyether ketone implant. Both of them have the same projection, the same width, and the same overall goal, which is to project the chin without making it too big or boxy, with extensions on either side to give it a tapered look. So why is this about 10 to 20 times the cost? Well, let's talk about the pros and cons to see if it's worth your time. As far as chin implants are concerned, the best way to put a chin implant in, although there are multiple ways of doing it, is to make an incision underneath the mandible bone in your skin, create a pocket for the implant, and simply slip it into place. And you can slip an implant into place that bends like this. Can't do it with something thermoplastic like this. Although we do break it up into two pieces, this implant is meant to be solid and rigid. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? A silicone implant will fit into a pocket that you create under periosteal flaps. You basically create a hand and glove fit on one side and a hand and glove fit on the other side. Look at this little registration line if you use the same company I do for your implants, and make sure it's not sort of canted up one way or the other. If you've got a good fit, you feel it with your fingers, you're happy, you're done. This implant makes a lot of people very happy. Polyether ketone implants, however, can use a similar size incision, but the implant has to be broken up into two pieces and you put one half in at a time. Unlike the silicone implant, this implant, once positioned properly, gives you a satisfying click that you're in the right place, because this implant was based on your anatomy. To get this implant, you've got to get a CT scan first. That CT scan has to be sent to an implant design manufacturer, and that implant design manufacturer will then create a 3D model of your facial skeleton, just like this. It will also create a computerized model of your face. From that computerized model, we can achieve a similar hand and glove fit implant to achieve the same goals as an off-the-shelf implant, but will uniquely address your own asymmetries, goals, and other things, unlike an off-the-shelf device. So why does that matter? Well, looky here. If you put a silicone implant on top of this, you can see that it doesn't fit just right. Now, when you place it under skin, muscle, fat, and periosteal flaps, it will eventually stick down somewhat to the facial skeleton, but it's hard to assure that you are in the exact right spot, and it's hard to ensure that this flat, hard back surface is going to adapt perfectly to your chin. So even if you fixate it with a screw, the micromotion that you achieve with overlying muscle function causes some bony resorption. And that's the biggest con of these devices. Bony resorption. Now, when you look at CT scans or even x-rays of your facial skeleton after silicone implants, a lot of people notice that there is bony resorption. The good news is that bony resorption is very seldom, if ever, clinically significant. In other words, on the street, nobody's going to see that your bones resorbed a millimeter or two. However, if you ever get an implant exchange or secondary surgery, it can be hard to deal with a footprint of a previous implant. In contrast, a custom implant that snaps into position and is rigid is generally fixated with screws down to the bone. Once it's fixated with screws, there is no micromotion. The screw will hold, in both of these implant halves, will hold the implant into a rigid position, and it's not moving anywhere. So because this semi-crystalline device is smooth, it is also relatively easy to reverse. A silicone implant, one of the best things about it, not touching the bone all the way, is it forms a capsule around it, sometimes on all surfaces, and can be removed easily. In terms of more rigid implants, so can this. The last thing I want to say between silicone and polyether ether ketone implants is that the polyether ether ketone implant is really designed for a one and done type creation. Although we can create the ideal facial skeleton, we still don't have the technology to, with either of these implants, tell you exactly how your final result's gonna look, because everybody's soft tissue responds differently to underlying implants. In general, as a rule of thumb, I would say that for every 10 millimeters of projection I put in as an implant, you're gonna see about 7 millimeters of soft tissue augmentation. And that's why if you lose a millimeter or two of bone because of a silicone implant, 0.7 millimeters of setback is not gonna be noticeable in the setting of a large implant like this. That's 8 millimeters projected. So, in the end, I will tell you that for the chin, there are pros and cons to both PEEK and custom implants. However, once we get onto the topics of orbital floor implants, malar implants, jaw angle implants, and mid-facial implants, I think that the PEEK implants are superior in almost every situation. If you have any questions about these implants and you want to talk more about it, please leave your comments below or reach out to my practice to set up a consultation and further this discussion. Thank you so much for your time.